Gloria Steinem is a largely recognized feminist and political and social activist. She was actively involved in many women's rights associations and fought for equality.
I really want to spend most of my time talking about the future because that's what interests me. I live in the future.
And the irony of eating caviar for the benefit of the starving doesn't escape her.
On the topic of rights and responsibilities, she was a large force in the movement for women's rights, organizing and speaking up. Since she was a large leader in the movement, a lot of responsibility was on her to really make a change, which she did. Steinem was inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame in 1993.
You know, if you dare to aspire to something, then you get it automatically. But it's hard for me to remember that.
Cesar Chavez was influenced by St. Francis, Gandhi, and nonviolence. He founded United Farm Workers, or UFW. Chavez gained support and helped lead strikes. He made people aware of the struggles of farm workers. He strived to prove people can make changes with persistence and nonviolence.
We've known now for over 10 years that the strike breakers and the growers are armed. We communicated this to Sheriff Wiley. There's been now, this is the 8th incident where we have had shootings at us.
Cesar Chavez's role in rights is large, starting with his never-ending dedication to getting better rights for farm workers. The responsibility of this is huge because he dedicated the majority of his life to making other people's rights better. Abraham Lincoln was firmly opposed to slavery from the start of his presidency. He vowed to preserve the Union even if it meant war. This resulted in the Civil War between the North and South. Although the Civil War started as a way to preserve democracy, it quickly turned into a way to battle for freedom and the end of slavery. When the war ended, Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, definitively ending slavery. He also became even more famous for his Gettysburg Address. By the end of his life, Lincoln had successfully abolished slavery.
Abraham Lincoln was probably the least egotistical person who ever rose to high political office. He was able to keep his eyes on the prize, to use that familiar phrase, which meant that he had to dissociate himself from the personal attacks and from his personal innermost feelings. He was perfectly capable of being hurt. It wasn't that he wasn't sensitive. He was very sensitive. And yet, at the same time, he had this forbearance that many have noted, but I think few have understood how deeply it went and how much he actually hurt when at the same time he was doing what had to be done to save the Republic.
Lincoln took on responsibility as president to change rights for overworked, underpaid slaves. He even started a war over it. He believed in his cause so strongly. His efforts paid off. Slavery was outlawed.
That this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and a government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
I belong to no one like the watermelon, rolling with momentum, spitting out its seeds, buried under snow and waiting just to show.